We have a question from the audience, which I think is a really great one. Can you be an abolitionist and fight for community control? Are these related concepts? And how do you answer the question of reform versus fundamental change?
Just because in Chicago, we have a lot of abolitionists. Um, we also have a lot of reformists. Uh, and just like personally, like as a socialist, I think the entire state uh, the entire state apparatus of capitalism should be abolished. Um, and the police are a part of that, but not the whole thing. So uh, but every movement is not like the whole. Every movement um, doesn't have to contain the entirety of the beliefs of every person in that movement. Um, so what we do in Chicago, and I'm sure in other cities as well, is we have unity of action, but not a university of thought. I mean, not unity of thought. So we have abolitionists, we have liberals, we have revolutionaries of all different kinds of all different flavors of revolutionaries, um, and we're fighting towards a common goal. And that common goal is community empowerment, because whatever you think should happen to the police, whether you think they should be abolished, whether you think they should be um, reformed, that takes power. That takes you're not going to ask the mayor, you're not going to go to Lori Lightfoot or Rahm Emanuel or whoever. I don't know who's going to win the next mayoral elections in Chicago, but I know for a fact that you can't ask them to abolish the police. You can't even ask them to stop increasing the police budget, let alone defunding the police. So taking hold of the police budget, taking hold of police policy and who is on the force, that I think is a step towards any kind of um, anything that we want to happen to police, whether it's abolition or defunding or any kind of reform that we want to happen, needs uh, power on the part of communities. Um, and I'd say that's not just, again, that's not just something that applies to policing. That's something that applies to um, hospitals and schools and housing. People have to be in control in order to change anything for the better, because politicians are just not going to do it. Um, but the police are like the cutting edge of repression, um, and that's where every rebellion, I think, in the past 7 or 8 decades has been um, a response to police violence. Um, so that's where everyone is. So it's not just about like um, fitting into one ideology or fitting in, molding our strategy to fit one ideology. It's about empowering the community with as many people um, as we can get. So just like to talk about ECPS a little bit more, um, in order to get that passed, we needed the help of trade unions, we needed the help of abolitionist organizations, we needed the help of churches, mosques, synagogues, youth organizations, like every kind of organization that is at work in the community. We were reaching out to, and we were, um, getting help. I mean, every kind of progressive organization. Obviously, we weren't like, uh, you know, we weren't dealing with the FOP or anybody like that. Um, but it takes a lot of, in order to change any kind of anything in the society, it takes a lot of work from a lot of people. Um, so that's what we've been doing. Just a unity of action and not necessarily unity of ideas.
I think the what I add is yeah, excellent explanation. Like in Jacksonville, like we don't necessarily have a lot of abolitionists here. Not that I actually have met in like organizing spaces. I think in regards to reform versus revolution is always a question of leadership, in my opinion. You know, like you can wage a struggle for um, community control, but I guess it's a reference struggle if that's where you stop. You know what I'm saying? Like we see the struggle for community control as part of a broader struggle to win power for the working class, for oppressed people, for black and brown people in this country. It's part of that struggle. It's not like, like I think the difference between uh, revolutionary and like a reformist is like a reformist uses reforms as a means to buy people into the system even more, to believe that the system that we have is complete. It just needs a little bit of refinement. Like a revolutionary fights for reforms because we believe that the masses need to have power, and we want to win as many demands for the people, for the struggle, as we can. However, we know that's not the end. So like every struggle that we wage, even if Savannah struggled to get a killer cop indicted, like the struggle doesn't end when that killer cop is indicted or when that killer cop is put in prison, because the system's going to produce more killer cops until we kind of create our own system and abolish the old system that like kind of has us in a dispossessed place when it comes to power anyway. So I think that's really a question of leadership and how we kind of wage the struggle.
Thank you so much, Michael. I think leadership is obviously very important aspect of where to steer the direction. And with that, without leadership, it's directionless. It's a lot of wasted energy. So it's important to have effective leadership. Loretta, did you have anything you want to add?
Sure. Sorry, my camera's off. I think it's been kind of laggy for me, so I think with the camera off, it's a little bit better.
That's
Um,
fine.
so, um, yeah. So I think with the with we kind of had that question when after the uprising, uh, some groups got together and quickly went to our charter commission and called it reimagining the police, which just meant renaming the police. And a lot of those folks called themselves abolitionists, and that which is fine, but it didn't. There was no real understanding of what that meant, of what it meant to just rename the police. And so I know within TCC for J, we do have people who are for the call of abolition too, but understand that this is a start to abolishing the police, because you can't abolish something you don't control, right? And so I think a lot of people kind of have started from that. A lot of our folks who work with us who say, yeah, I want to abolish the police, are like, but they understand that to abolish the police, you have to abolish the system. And so we're close, but we're not there yet. And so I think it's been kind of, I won't say an uphill battle, because I think a lot of people saw through those groups because they got millions of dollars to push this agenda. And we're a group that's maybe operating on some thousands. We're not broke, but we're not in the millions. We didn't get money from Lizzo. So, but I think we've been able to kind of, I don't know, we haven't, we still have people who think community control is just another reform, is just some toothless reform. But I think we've been able to get a lot more people on our side because they've seen the work we've done prior to working on community control of the police. And I think a lot of more people trust that we're a group that is for that. So, yeah.
Thank you so much, Loretta. Um, it's truly been an absolute pleasure to share the space with such competent, um, experienced, intelligent, like revolutionaries and activists. I'm not even joking. Y'all are awesome. Thank you for taking your time to help educate us on your point of views on your struggles, your wins. And I think here in Dallas, we're at the very beginnings of our struggle for community control, even though we've done a lot of work for sure, leaning in that direction. But we're hoping to walk in stride with you all, and hopefully tap in with you guys again to get some more intel on what you guys have going on in your neck of the woods. So thank you all for joining us here tonight. Sydney?
Yeah, thanks to all the panelists and our MC Kawana. Just want to make sure everybody, and thanks to the folks who were dropping questions in the chat. Definitely a lot of food for thought. There's, of course, we could sit here all day. There's a lot to think about, a lot to do, but the main priority is action. You know, we've got to keep moving these fights forward. So definitely for all of our folks in Dallas, if you're not involved, get involved. You know, follow our links, come to our meetings, where we'll be taking the steps to push this forward. If you have not signed on to our petition, do that. We'll link all of those in the chats, so you can get involved here locally and put it into practice. So with that being said, thanks everybody for hopping on, and we'll see you in the streets or at a meeting. All right.
Good evening,
Bye,
everyone.
everybody.